What's up, guys, and welcome to the first and only edition of the Knights at the Roundtable podcast, starring the journalism class cast, starring Albert Koenig,
Maggie Wilson. Why did you introduce Albert?
Matthew Maroney.
Maya Russell.
Sebjan Kennedy.
HFA.
Amir.
And Albert Koenig again?
Yes, Albert Koenig. We love Albert Koenig. And Amar Bates. Unfortunately, Jack is not here, and that is so sad. We miss Jack. Jack Vaughn. May he all rest in peace in our hearts.
Yeah. R.I.P. Jack.
R.I.P. Jack.
Jack is sick at the day that we're filming this, so he's not. Yeah, okay, Maggie wants the mic now.
Jack died.
R.I.P. Jack.
Jack was actually assassinated in a bid to take over the second nightly news host spot. And so whoever you see taking over his role next year, know they killed Jack Vaughn. I am willing to file a police report about this. This is a legally actionable claim that I'm making right now.
Sebjan killed Jack.
We have no part in this.
Now that the introductions are out of the way, this podcast will be constructed of us going back on a rewind of journalism and behind the scenes, taking a look back, giving y'all a little insight of what we did and how we did it. And why don't you start us out, Albert?
So, basically, we started off journalism. I actually signed up for yearbook to start out, and I got put in journalism, and I was actually pretty frustrated about it initially because it was like, oh, man, I had this idea of, I was going to overhaul the visual design in the yearbook because I thought, oh, we could do some things, and I was really excited about it. And then I got put in journalism, and I was like, wait, what? Because it's funny because, the week before that, I actually read about Miss Murray, and they had a brief little blurb for her, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have that teacher, but that's interesting to know that she's from Florida, just graduated from there, because I have family connection. Anyway, so started out, point is, going in, I was skeptical, but after the first 50 minutes, that first 50-minute period where we're like, oh, this is journalism, this is what we're doing, I was absolutely on board with, doing a lot of content this year. And I think, honestly, for me, it worked out better because journalism gave us the opportunity to do something every week as opposed to something once a year. And obviously, both are just as good products. I mean, Yearbook puts on a good thing year after year. And we don't want to take away from that. But this did give us an opportunity to, fill in the gap of the yearbook with more student-led content, every week. So I want to hand it over to Sebjan because Sebjan, I got a lot of credit in the finale, but I don't think Sebjan got enough credit because without Sebjan's help, I would not have been able to do as much as I would have been able to do. And Sebjan took a lot off my back. So here you go.
That's facts.
Okay, so I'm going to be mainly talking about the writing team because that's what I mainly saw. When I first entered journalism, I entered with the idea that, hey, this is just going to be a break class. I'm not going to have to do much else. And I was a little wrong in that, probably very wrong. Albert pushed me to do a lot more than I wanted to or expected to. And at some point, we ended up at this show. Originally, we were supposed to do a documentary, but as soon as we this is a tangent, by the way. We were supposed to do a documentary, but the funny thing is, we decided to present it in front of an IS. Nobody was interested. We stepped outside, and Albert just talked to us about how bad the idea was. Right after we spent months thinking about it.
Well, okay. So, yes, to a degree, I did criticize an action we took, and we spent a bunch of months preparing on. The idea was for us to do a documentary about COVID and the school's journey through COVID. I proposed the idea. I don't like doing political things personally. We have some people on our crew, particularly Daniel Doe, who's also not here. But he wants to do like a lot of political writing, and I'm all for him pursuing that opportunity. And we were originally intending to do a documentary, and everyone was on board with it until we showed it to an IS class, and no one was interested. Yes, it might have at the time been a bit of an overreaction to start. We need to go back to the drawing board, but I think the indignation that we got after, and the reception that we had, considering how silent it was. I mean, no one after we pitched the idea, because we were going to involve a lot of user submitted content. I think in the end we could have done it and been okay. But we would have gotten a lot of less content than we were expecting. And I don't think people want to be reminded of COVID, especially considering this is our first year back. That might be something to do a few years later when we're on down the line, or maybe even next year, because we're thinking about expanding our operations. Yeah, we did end up abandoning that idea and going to the show. Maya, please take away.
Okay, speaking of changing minds, when I first started journalism, I was literally supposed to be a part of the writing. And then I went from writing to, fundraiser. And then I went from fundraiser to, I don't know. And then I finally made it to the nighttime show. So it was so much decision making. I remember when the nighttime show first started, it was, super informative, But then it got fun, and it became, I don't know. It was just fun. But that's all I had to say. I just had an agreeance because it was a really tough decision. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Journalism was not my first pick. It was an alternative class for me too, just in case I didn't get into what I wanted. So when I got in, I was like, bruh, I don't want to do this. But the nighttime show actually made it super fun. So I'm going to let you guys fight.
It's Maggie here. Journalism was also not my first choice. It was actually not one of my choices at all. They put me in creative writing, which also wasn't one of my choices, but that's okay. And then I had to choose a class, and I got into journalism. I hated it at first. I was working for the social media team. I'm not going to lie. I didn't like it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't like writing articles for an Instagram page every week. I just didn't like it. So I wrote a few articles. Follow HF Nightly News on Instagram. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. You'll see a few articles about me. Anyways, by me. Anyways, but then I'm gonna be real with y'all. Maya and I started going down to when they were filming to get out of class because we did not want to be in there. Not to get out of class, but we went there to. It was informative. It was informative.
Originally,
Okay.
applied to be a part of film or something.
Okay.
I don't really know.
Okay, well, I did not want to be in class, and we fell in love with the nighttime show, and then we wanted to be a part of it. So, and now I actually love journalism. It's one of my favorite classes, and I love the nighttime show. And Amar's staring at me right now. Amar, stop staring at me. Stop it. Stop it.
Anyways, I just wanted to tell my origin of journalism. I came to school. I was in Spanish 4 actually, and then first day back, I wasn't even in the class yet. I already had homework assignments. And I was like, I can't do this. So a couple weeks into Spanish, I was like, nah. And I changed my schedule. I didn't care what class I was in because I really didn't have a choice. And then she was like, you can do journalism or that online class, computer science. I was going to do computer science, but then I missed a due date to fill out these papers because I forgot about them. And then the only option I had left was journalism. I was like, anything to get out of Spanish 4. I really should have got an AP Bio, but I got a Spanish 4. And then I showed up August 24th, good month into school. And then she just threw me into social media because that's the only thing I knew. And I really wasn't excited for the class because when I asked about the class, she said it's probably gonna be a lot of writing. At least that's what Miss Cho just told me. But then I got in here, there was barely any writing except for social media. But that was actually fun because you got to write about what you wanted to do. And then Albert just approached me one day and was like, "You want to be an anchorman for this show?" And I was like, "I want to be an anchorman." I was like, "Sure, okay." And then the rest is history.
I share a similar experience with Amar because Oh, my name is Amir, by the way. I film for the nighttime show and the student surveys. You can sometimes see me. I mean, you probably did see me with an iPhone just walking around 7th period.
You were also in the finale.
Oh, yeah, the senior one where we in the front of the school. Oh, yeah, that too. Basically, I started Spanish 3 with Miss Sikrin, I think, and I was like, no, because we had homework assignments the first day, and then I hated the class, and then I went to the guidance counselor, and they put me in journalism. I didn't really think. First, she mentioned it as newspaper, and I was like, I don't want to write a newspaper, but I guess it's better than Spanish. So I started coming to this class, and because I was late, I kind of did not have a group for a while, and because I didn't complete the assignments she gave in the first few days, I had a 6% on my progress report, and I still I think I have like a 50-something on my quarter one, which I made it up. I mean, it was unfortunate. Yeah, I actually have like a risk of getting a B in this class in the entire year, but it turned out really good. I filmed for it now.
Well, both you and FA have been really good workers for us, and like this show started late, and that was because of the documentary. And we had our plan. Originally our department was 5 people working on this thing, and then when we decided to do the show, and Miss Murray was like, "Hey, also this person transferred to our Miss Murray was like, hey, Maya's also here, and she's also going to help out with the video department." And we were like, okay, great. So that was still during the process of making our documentary, I think, or it was the early stages of the show, either one.
I signed up for I don't know, video or hold a camera or something, and I was like, I just want to film something, and you were like, okay. And then Miss Murray just put me over there, and then the documentary thing just never happened. I was like, oh my god, I'm out of a job. How am I gonna pay my bills? And then nighttime show.
Yeah, so we had a number of ideas initially tossed up. I think I mentioned passingly that I helped work on a morning show for my middle school. And there were a couple other things, we mentioned doing miniature documentaries throughout the year. When we
do a show, I think someone was like, you should do a docu-show, not a movie or something.
Yeah, something like a limited, almost like a Disney Plus show, not Disney Plus, but a docu-series that you would see on streaming.
Like the series they did on Khalif Browder, where it was 6 episodes, but it was a documentary.
Yeah. So we thought about doing that, and then eventually, after we reassessed what we were going to do as far as the documentary goes, and we decided on doing a morning show. Yeah, I did. I showed y'all videos, and I was like, I have experience with this, and this could be something that we could probably do, and it could be really successful. Lo and behold, later on, it became what it became.
Okay, so one dynamic that y'all viewing the show might not be aware of, and this is Matthew, by the way, is that I do the student survey segment, but I'm not actually in the video department. I'm the editor of the social media department, and so the only extent to which I'm involved in video is student surveys. So I kind of have an outsider perspective here on this panel, and so one thing I want to do is kind of push the video team to talk about just the process of making y'all's show, because I don't think the people viewing it see the day, y'all that aren't in Miss Murray's 7th period don't know, this team goes hard. Y'all are organized. Y'all are talking every class period. I'm seeing colored out printed sheets of paper with writing on them before y'all film. The nighttime show is a production. And so
on colored scripts, but
our weather part.
Yeah, I just wanted to prompt.
Trying to cram it in the last 2 seconds. It's fun, but it gets super, super chaotic. Did you remember the weather? Were you here for the weather?
No.
If you guys remember the weather segment of one of our episodes, I think it was the second before last, we literally had I think it was 3 minutes to film that and do the page. The script was this much reading for the weather, and we had 2 seconds. It was 3 o'clock. Oh, you guys can't see how much this much is, but put your hands 2.5 inches away. That's no, 3.5 inches away. That's this much. Okay.
No, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to prompt the nighttime news crew here to just talk about like the week by week nitty gritty process of like the show does not exist to Jack and Amar and Maggie and Meyer reading a script being filmed.
I just want to start off by saying, well, this is Mackie. I want to start off by saying on our sheet every week that has the schedule on what times we're supposed to be doing stuff, Albert has the most specific times ever. Like we're supposed to be in class with our mics ready at 2:16, not 2:15, not 2:20, 2:16, and it's 2:16 exactly on the dot.
And like Albert, this is Maya, obviously. But Albert's like super nice, but he's also super organized. So he means 2:16 when he says 2:16. And I don't know, like the nighttime show seems super fun, you know, and lax, and like yes, it's organized in a sense, but it just seems like a lax high school, you know, very cool show. But like generally, you focus so much and put so much work, and I don't even think they realize it's like behind the scenes, it's like scattered, like we're all yelling at each other, we're all like trying to find the fluffs to our microphones, like it gets a little crazy, guys.
Yeah, so it's a big process, and there's been so much thought from all of us that has gone into the show. I mean, we would sit there for 30 minutes on Mondays and decide what content we were going to do. About the 2:16 thing, so so I put that there because I was like, well, how do I get them in there by 2:15, but like make it to where they have a little bit of leisure time. So I put 2:16 in there. Anyway, I want to give it to Sebjan again because he's been begging to talk. So please, Sebjan, talk about the like making of the nighttime show and stuff.
Okay, thank God I had the mic again. I've been dying for this for about 20 minutes now. Okay, so the nighttime show is separated into, you could say, two halves. First half of the week will be focusing on pre-production. You'll be writing up ideas, coming up with scripts, and basically forcing the writers to do whatever you want. That's my job. And then the second half is all filming or pre-planning for the next week. And you do this every week for about the entire semester, and you have a nighttime show. If I want to go more in depth with the writing, I'd say it's just a lot of notes. I think FA can give us a better idea.
Okay, well, I'm FA, so basically the writing consists of Albert basically providing me and Daniel with a schedule of basically the whole month of any school activities. And me and him, he usually tackles the athletic section while I do the nightly, like, actual things that news of the week, yeah. Yeah, weekly watch. My bad, I forgot the word for it. We basically write anything from when this episode gets released as today, so it's kind of trippy when you look at it. You're writing it from a week behind, but you're writing as if you are speaking, like, present tense. And then after that, Albert's actually writing like a lot too, because our direct words aren't read by the anchors. Albert organizes them and makes it more like legible, basically condenses them too.
I'm a little micromanaging.
Yeah.
And that's something I need to work on.
I think it's totally fine. I'm just writing basic ideas, and like my words aren't exactly easy to read on a screen because they're just paragraphs and paragraphs, and Albert condenses them so the anchors have a better time reading it.
Necessary though, because we do read like a lot of word for word when it comes to like the important information. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, if I was not on this show, I would not have any idea about what's going on. Like the only reason I know what's going on, like weekly and daily, is because you put them big paragraphs for me to read every week. So some of it is like super informative. So thanks.
I mean, that's basically the writing process. It's actually more fun than it sounds, because basically while the anchor crew, goes downstairs to record, me and Daniel stay behind the class. We write our stuff. It might sound boring, but it's actually a lot of fun. We get to know about athletic schedules way earlier. We get to look at team sports schedules, like for sports that aren't as common as you think, like tennis, which is really unique. And that's basically it. Writing is fun. If you're watching this and you're going to do it next year, you should definitely try being a writer because it's a really cool job.
And going back to the beginning of the year for journalism, I remember how it was just me, Jack, Albert, sometimes Grant McConnell, sometimes Daniel, sometimes Daniel too. Daniel came down once. I remember. He didn't. Okay, this was before. This is like the first time we filmed. We was in the library back room, so cramped. Y'all were in the first day. For real?
So, yeah. So I think now is a good time to talk about the Eminem podcast that never happened. Yeah. So
This was introduced on the. I think like the only thing that ever got put, like we put out a social media post. It was like like girls' night out, like pink text. It was like they were gonna do like an audio only Maggie and Maya podcast.
And we actually intended to announce it alongside the talent show, which was supposed to be at the end of the first semester, but due to delays and just scheduling issues, we had to delay it until the beginning of the second semester, but that's okay. So we went ahead and announced it at the end of the first semester, but we're going to talk about why that show never happened. Please take it away.
So basically, when Maya and I realized that we were interested in the nighttime show, when we were like behind the scenes of the first 8 episodes of the show. Yes, it was the first 8 episodes.
Because we
I'm on.
got in the 9th and we were like, hey, and then in the 10th we were in the episode. Because we looked it up the other day. And then
We watched all of them the other day.
we didn't watch the episodes.
We just watched the bloopers. Anyways, so for the first 8 episodes, we were just behind the scenes and stuff, and then we were like, Albert, bruh, like, we want to do something. Like, we want to do something, And so we came up with our podcast, Girls Night Out, and we were going to talk about girly things.
I still think that we need to incorporate more girl stuff in the nighttime show. Because the purpose of the girls' night out thing was not to talk about like girls and boys and stuff. It was literally to bring awareness to like female sports, which get looked over a lot because of the boy athletics, to like talk about like girl hygiene supplies that are like severely needed at school, and that was the main basis of the podcast. So the podcast was to be like lenient and funny, but it wasn't like for the girls, like we were going to talk about like gross girl stuff. It was just like informative because like the boys had the boy thing and we didn't want to intrude.
Do you want to go ahead and do that?
No, like
And incorporate it into the show?
yeah,
Just give us
exactly. I definitely think that it should be a talked about thing. It doesn't have to be a podcast because that was kind of dumb. We were just kind of nervous. We didn't want to do it on our own because the boys were doing so good at the nighttime show. We were like, we should just join something that's already good. But yeah, so that's what it was going to be about. It was going to be informative, and I think that we should, have a little segment here or two in the nighttime show about it.
Yeah, I think what like ended the whole idea of the podcast was literally for like weeks and weeks and weeks we were like, okay, we're gonna film tomorrow, okay, we're gonna film this Friday, okay, we're gonna film, and then Friday would come and we would be like, we don't want to film today, and we talked about it. We were like, why are we doing this? Like, we don't want to do it. And so we talked to Albert about it, and he was like, I don't even know how it got brought up that we put our ad. We made our ad for the.
Figure out what we wanted to have it about.
Yeah, we wanted to do an after show, and then we were like, wait, why don't we just like be on the show with Jack and Amar?
I was going to say about the ad we filmed, I think it was really funny because we were in those very small library space. They didn't want Albert in there because they thought they made him nervous, and then I had no idea how to work the camera, so I was just like pushing random buttons, and then Like, how long was the ad? Like, a few seconds? It took like an hour. Yeah.
Because we only wanted it, because we wouldn't let Albert help
Yeah,
us. We only wanted
they wouldn't let Albert help
we
them.
didn't know what to do, so we were all just like messed up in the room because Albert wasn't there.
It's the Lego thing, whatever. And the thing is, I have a confession to make, okay? I was trying to help them write the thing, and there was a paper that said, "Do not touch the props." That's just like a little like piece of paper, and I ripped it up trying to write something on it. And Albert comes into class. He's like, "Someone did an attack on us or something, some crazy thing." And yeah, that was me. I just like lied to you and said, "Oh, I don't know who did that," and it went on for the entire year. And then I mentioned to him when we were setting the green screen up for you to take home. And I felt really bad about it, and I just wanted to say it. It was me. I just wanted to write something on the back so they can like read it. And I thought it was hilarious when I held my laughing, and once you laugh, I was just laughing so hard. And I just want to say, you guys Maggie and Mike came a long way with the whole being an anchor. First, they started off really nervous, and then they became really good. So that's it.
Plus, Eminem is like a great show name.
Yeah, Eminem is really creative.
Stage name.
I think I came up with Eminem.
I think he did actually.
I would like to take credit on me coming up with Eminem. Just because I'm just that guy for real. So I just come up with good names for groups.
All right, Seb.
Yes, I'm one of them.
I'm just like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Wait, before we switch topics, speaking of the feedback that Maya Russell was talking about, I'm actually very glad that the student body gave us feedback on what to include and what to exclude. Like, because before they started putting in their feedback, we weren't as funny and we weren't having our own skits until we heard something about it and someone said, you should add more.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
It wasn't like overwhelming, like a tidal wave of feedback. Like, we literally
Yeah.
heard one suggestion.
One suggestion?
That dumb one that we kept saying was really dumb, and we just
'Cause
wouldn't
it was
listen to it.
dumb.
What was dumb?
Oh my god.
They said
It was
that.
like, oh,
What
this
did
make
they
the
say?
student
The student
surveys-
surveys needs to be shorter. I don't
Bro,
understand
and it was such a
it.
dumb comment because student surveys is the best part.
Period.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone loves student surveys, and that's where my boy Matthew comes in.
All opinions are valid.
Maybe it's just
This is
Maroney hater. Like maybe it's just someone who hates Matthew.
this is very, very probable.
I wrote the review.
Nah, but this is a plug real quick because we have not yet selected who's going to do the student surveys next year. We have. Sounds like we have.
We're nominating Amir. The nighttime staff is nominating Amir. What's your last name?
Amir, what?
Ünlüel.
How do you say that? I thought we were
Ünlüel. It's different.
Man, I don't want to.
Hard, dude. That's so hard.
Yeah, I don't want to sound racist, but I was gonna say like Uno, so that was way off. Unlul.
Yeah, it's missing the letters in the original Turkish alphabet, so it's just like substitute with a U.
But
It's not really.
but Amir and Efe isn't his real name though.
It's the middle name.
Yilmaz.
First name again, Amir?
Yes.
No, say it in there.
Yeah, my first name is Yağız.
Say your whole name.
Yağız Emir Ünlüel. Is it Yağız Emir Ünlüel? Is it really? My full name is Yılmaz Efe Ünlüel.
Sorry, his first name beats your
Yeah, it does. I mean, Yılmaz.
I would like to shout out Mr. Hedgeland every time. I want.
Wait, can we sing
Happy birthday, Mr. Hedgeland. We love you. I love you, Mr. Hedgeland. I love you so much, Mr. Hedgeland.
His birthday when
Oh,
we're filming this.
whenever we're filming this and this comes out, Mr. Hedgeland, you're my favorite teacher. This is Maya. I need an A, but you are my favorite teacher. I really been reading my AMSCO.
Man, imagine not reading the AMSCO. That would be insane. But I have my AMSCO. I don't know if you have one though, Maggie.
I never read the AMSCO and I got a 3. You can do it.
I always read the AMSCO, so I'm pretty confident I'm gonna get a 5.
Mr. Hedgeland, you're not finna catch me lacking. I read it, Mr. Hedgeland.
It's crazy. Anyways, I was just gonna shout out Mr. Hedgeland because every time he takes attendance in our class, he yells "Yomaz," just like that, and I love it.
Gets it right too.
Gets it right perfectly.
All right, 7.
Okay, so switching topics, I wanted to ask you all, your thoughts on the class as a whole, not just the video department.
On the class as a whole, not just video?
Yeah.
So basically, I like the class. I think Miss Murray does like a really good job for it's her first year, and she's trying to it's not like she's starting journalism. She's trying to revamp something that literally died. So it's not an easy job.
Like Jack.
I just want to say, like, journalism is totally what you make out of it. Like, when we got into that class, Murray said, like, do you guys want to have, like, a couple weeks of instruction or just, like, get started? And we said we wanted to get started. And then we spent, like, the next 3 days just, like, as a class figuring out what we wanted to do. Like, it was not top down at all. We did not get in there and Miss Murray, like, told us, what we were going to do or what the departments were going to be. Like, it was a very student-led course, and you entirely get out of journalism what you put into it, because, like, there's not a lot of structure around the periods. Like, if you show up and you're not going to get to work, you're not going to get anything out of the class, because, like, Murray is going to make sure you're involved, but it's very, like, there's not pressure on you in the moment to be working or not. So it's entirely about, like, how self-motivated you are and what you're going to put into it. And I think that's a really good model for a class, because it gives opportunities for students like us to, like, get started and do these great projects that no one else was thinking of. So I think that's kind of my view of journalism, is just, like, you get out of it what you put into it.
And I would definitely have to say that that's exactly true. Like, this, what shocked me was that this is the first class I think I've ever had where on the first day the teacher was like, not like, hey, here's my name, here's where I come. Like, Murray was like, hey, so my name's Miss Murray. Let's talk about journalism. Like, those were like her first. There was no. I mean, there was kind of. There was kind of like it was like Journalism 101, and it had just like a sheet of like, here's some things you could do. But I mean, literally, from the beginning, the sky was the limit. Like, it was like my favorite courses are those where students get to choose exactly what they want to do, set their own deadlines, because that's exactly how the Meg's Morning Show that I did at Meg's was able to work, because he was like, you're going to have one project for the entire year. You get to choose when you work on it, how you work on it, what you work on. And Mr. Stack, who's the computer teacher at Meg's, he allowed us to do that. And it's the exact same here. And had it been structured, I don't know if we would have made as much content. Because had we had that, like, restrictive hand on us being like, hey, pace yourself here, like, the school would not have benefited as much, I don't think. So.
And I think the fact that, like, we were able to self-select into what we were going to do allowed students to, like, get into their own. And, like, if we had been, forced to, like, do what we were told to do, like, Albert could have ended up in the newspaper department or something. And I'm like, I don't think Albert would have put out the same quality of work in the newspaper department that he did in the video department. So I think journalism gives students a really good opportunity to, like, explore new, like, I had no idea how to do, like, social media management or content creation before I just, like, logged onto Canva and started trying to do things. And I think journalism kind of, like, pushes you into some uncomfortable situations like that and might make you learn new skills you didn't have before just out of necessity. And so I think it's a really valuable class just because it pushes you to do things you wouldn't in other classes.
And I just wanted to point out, this is FA, by the way. Okay, there's a giant spill right now. Oh my goodness. Who spilled that, bro? It's just the mic. It's the mic. I just wanted to say how none of this is a grade. Like, nothing we're doing here is graded. Like, we do weekly check-ins. Murray wants to keep track and, like we're doing something. We're not just slacking off. But, like, Albert just going home, rapidly finishing his homework and just working on the script, Jack editing the videos, us, like, using our time for this. Yeah, none of this is required. We're just, like, we're working just because of, like, passion and, like, how talented Albert is. He just wants to make, like, a quality product. We're, like, making something. We're not, in other classes, we're not trying to get a good grade and get an A or whatever. As a whole, we're making something completely unique for others to enjoy. Why would we even do this if this wasn't graded? The only reason we're doing this is because we like it and we want to make something that's appreciable later on, like maybe in 5 years, or we want to make like a culture in the school where this continues on for way longer than like we last. Yeah.
You could say in that sense that we made our own structure.
We did.
Yeah.
We absolutely did.
Out of that, this show that we made, like, out of every single person here, I think if we had been assigned to it, like, if we were forced to in this show, if everyone in this room was forced into this show or forced into this panel, I think you would have very different results as to what we'd say.
I guess we can sort of start now going down another trail, even though we do need to be conscious of time.
We need to start wrapping up here.
Okay. So then I guess my question here from the outsider perspective is just to get the Nighttime News crew to talk a little bit about what's going to be different for the show next year and what new content students have to look forward to.
So we're not going to reveal everything we're doing yet, especially specifics, largely because we don't have a lot of that figured out. Although some things we do. I will say season 2 is going to be a lot bigger. Our department is I guess now is a good time to announce. So in journalism, there are 2 departments. Matthew and I are the editors of the social media and video departments. And we're both merging those next year into the media department, which is going to run all the social media plugs and make video content. And that video content is not just going to be the Nighttime Show. We're expanding. We're going to do more like other like documentaries, stuff like that, stuff that we didn't get to do this year. I want to also kind of expand that. And we're looking at adjustments to our staff that we're going to make to account for that. Of course, we do have to be conscious because, we can only let a certain amount of people in. So it's highly selective. But it's going to be a really cool thing. And we will definitely talk about specifics next year. I would definitely be down for talking about like specifics of what we did this year in terms of like,
So basically, for our people who didn't listen to that whole thing, because you tuned out maybe, but very informative, very informative. Basically, we're going from a local company to a Google corporation, is what he's saying. Going from small company to a big business.
It's the inverse of Musk buying Twitter.
I'd also just like to thank the 8th Avenue Drilling for making a cameo in this podcast. It's here, and so I'd like to welcome it.